Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor Richard Forster.
Hello, Tom.
So, good to see you again, Supervisor Forster.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah. You know, a lot of it was spent studying up for the meeting and doing some other political things, but that's what you got to do sometimes. So, had a nice Ione Rotary steak and lobster dinner on Saturday night. Turned out real well. Over 300 people attended that.
Well, that's real good.
And we had a couple candidates there. Frank Bigelow was there, who was running for the District 5 Assembly race, and Dale Haney with Ione, and Trish Clare with Ione with a treasurer's race. Gary Thomas was there, so I mentioned all the candidates that were there. If there were more, I would have mentioned them.
Okay.
So, anyway, for our meeting coming up tomorrow, you know, it looks like it's going to be a short meeting. I don't think it will be.
You always think they'll be short, but they tend to stretch out.
Well, we have items 6 and 7 are the Amador County Historical Society in agreement with them to let them go in and start working on the museum, with the potential, the hopes of getting it reopened.
Oh, good.
This has been a long agreement. As you know, this has been on closed session for about the last 2 months.
Right. Some of it came up in open session a few...
it was Phil Gerlani.
Yes, a few meetings ago. And so I guess you've come up with some agreement. Does it look like they're going to be able to start working and getting that back up?
Well, and this was hard to hammer out because you want to protect the county, you want to protect the citizens of the county. We also want to get the museum reopened. Right. But we are fearful of, as we did with the roof, of opening something up and you get into a hornet's nest, basically, a lot more work than what you anticipated. That project went from what we thought was going to be slightly over $200,000 to almost $500,000 just on the roof because of the complications there. Once we opened it up, you got into how are you going to anchor it once you see deterioration of the bricks that are there, deterioration of wood and other things. That's what we're afraid of, is something's going to get opened up, and you're going to open up a what looks like a small project, and it's going to show more than the Historical Society can come up with the funds to repair. Okay. We're hopeful.
Well, it sounded a little bit like when I was at the meeting when it was discussed that you were somewhat concerned too about litigation. You know, if they're working there, and how does all that work out? And you know, fear of lawsuits makes things very difficult to get into as well. Well,
especially when you're working with volunteers who are donating their time. But you know, we've seen other instances where maybe not even with the county, but other places where volunteers have got hurt, and they come back with a lawsuit against the agency, against, in this case, it'd be against the Historical Society, the county. So you got to protect all parties, but you can't be in fear of a lawsuit so much that you just stifle the whole agreement. So we tried to come up with an agreement here, and I think Supervisor Plaz and Boitano were instrumental in trying to work with the Historical Society. I know our CAO, Chuck Eiley, was very instrumental. And then this got into some personalities, too, with our General Services Department. And our employees are just trying to protect the county, and that's what their job is. Right. So it's up to
and of course, the Historical Society would like to get the museum open. It's been closed for years and years.
So you got to find that in between, and that's what our CAO was instrumental in trying to make some modifications here to help out and see that it got done. Okay. Chuck Eiley is very good.
I'll be glad to hear how that comes out tomorrow.
Okay. Next up, we have the Amador County Employees Association. This was why I say looks like a short agenda, could be a long one. They have a movement now. They had to gather signatures. They've gathered over 70 signatures, which is over 30% to decertify out of SEIU, the Service Employees International Union. So this issue will come to us tomorrow. It sounds like a very easy decision for the board, but Greg Gillott, our county counsel, has been reviewing this, and what complicates it is the language that is in the existing county agreements with our employees are somewhat contrary to state law. The intent, we believe, was to go along with state law because it was adopted way back when in the 70s it was adopted with the Myers-Milius-Brown Act to go in direct step with the state law. but then our language that's in our county agreement is different than that and says something different. Greg Gillot did what I think is a masterful job of researching this. He's got about 4 pages of documentation here of his all of his research and his conclusions to point out that the intent was pretty clear.
I'm not totally clear on what you said. We have about a minute now. Were you saying that the bargaining group wants to disband from the union? They want to disband their union?
Over 30% of them want to at this time. So that's what they have to gather. Signatures of over 30%. They're coming to us now to ask for the go-ahead to vote on this issue. We have to look at, and our county council had to look at all the complications in this issue, came up with some very good research, and I expect that if the board does make the decision to go ahead and allow the employees to vote, then the union may challenge that and take it to the Public Employees Relations Board. We'll find out about that. We just don't know.
All right. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll have the other part of the pre-agenda report with Supervisor Richard Forster.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor Richard Forster. And let's go back to that item on the agenda where the employees wanted to decertify their union. And I was a little curious as to why they would have to come to the county in order to have that vote. It would seem to me like it would be an internal thing at first glance.
You would think so, but I think the way it's built in, if a group of employees, and you have to get over 30% of the signatures of employees, which they have, that's been checked by our board clerk already, then by law, they have to come to the county Board of Supervisors and request a vote. So that's their right to request a vote, rather than go to the union and request a vote.
Did they give you any reason why they wanted to decertify the union?
No, I can only.
That's internal.
I can only guess. I mean, that's internal with the employees and with how they feel about the union. So, at this point, I don't want to get into their fray.
Sure, okay.
But it's up to the Board of Supervisors whether we take the advice of our county council, which his advice is to go ahead and allow the vote. So we will hear the pro and con arguments of that tomorrow, I'm sure.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And we will hear the con argument tomorrow of the Newman Ridge Quarry and Edwin Center project down Ione. This is out on Highway 104 near the intersection of Dusky Road and 104. And actually, if this happens, it'll go out, Edwin Center will actually go out further, and there's a proposed asphalt plant there and a rock crushing, and so the big thing here is that this is being appealed. This came from the Planning Commission. It was approved. The EIR was certified by the Planning Commission. Okay. This is coming to the Board of Supervisors now. It's basically being driven by one family more than anyone else, and I can't blame them in that respect, because it's Colonel Fraser West and Teddy West, and the hill that sits right adjacent to their property is the one that's in question. The problem is you can't move the hill without taking it down for the resources, but you can't move the hill and take it out of the picture. You can move the other part of the project, the Edwin Center North general plan amendment that's being asked for here. That was going to occur very near the intersection of 104 and Dusky Road. That is being moved further away to lessen the impacts to the neighbors, to all of the neighbors in the region, and then the city of Ione, to lessen all of those impacts. The problem is with the hill, the Newman Center, Newman Ridge Quarry project. You can't move the hill. You can't take that further away from the people. It is where it is. That's where the resources are.
Okay. So is this being opposed for probably a lot of reasons, possibly, but would it be mostly transportation, or is this environmental air quality, or what is the chief concerns? Have you been
well, even the school district, Dick Glock had a comment in that it was going to create extra traffic by the school going out Highway 104. That's been answered in the documentation here, that it won't create a lot of traffic, but that's not a reason to stop the project either. The other things that Miss Sandra Westmore and the West family and her lawyer have brought up, and they have a group that they've pinned a name on, the Ione Valley Land, Air, and Water Defense League, or LADA. So it's made up of people, some from Camden County, a lot from all over the country. So,
I did look at an email that was, I believe they were using a group, or a service called Sign On, and when I looked at it, it seemed like quite a few signatures were from people that were from way out of the area,
right?
Los Angeles,
and they could be friends.
Washington.
They could be friends, could be relatives. While we don't discount totally their signatures, and because of where they come from, it's not as relevant as people that live in Amador County, and not as relevant as people specifically for me that live in District 2. I have to look at how much opposition is garnered locally. This is a tough spot for me, because no matter which way I go, I'm going to have friends or enemies. That's the way politics goes, and the ball bounces. But Fraser West and Teddy West have been friends of my family for a long time.
I think the good side for people that watch government is that the Planning Commission approved this and the EIR and things, but appealed it, and so it now will leave, say, that realm and come up to where you will feel some political pressure on this,
of course,
right?
Well, that's part of the job, though, too. And I've been in this for almost 12 years now, and I've been in these positions before. The Indian casino issue was one of the toughest. But this issue specifically, some of the things being questioned beyond traffic, Caltrans submitted a letter saying that they were concerned about the increase in rail traffic on the road crossings, which is ridiculous to me. 2 years ago, Caltrans has we have documentation from Caltrans saying that they need rock. Preferred way to do it is rail, and now they're doing a position contrary to that. The other issues carry more weight with toxic emissions, and of course, you look at the environmental dangers to plants and species.
To have an asphalt plant out there, do they have all the things that they need to make asphalt, or will they be importing?
They would have some of the material there. Sure, they'd have to import some of the material in, but they want that specific location because of the rail access. The argument made here is, why not just let the people on Jackson Valley, the quarry there, George Reed plant, expand there, and not even let this one go forward. This is commerce.
It doesn't seem like government's job to choose which business would have it. I see it from concerns that you would be looking at it that are more legitimate than.
Well, for me, it just shifts where the concerns are, because I have the people that live on Jackson Valley Road in that corridor who are very concerned. But they talk about the prevailing winds here that go into Ione. Well, the prevailing winds in Jackson Valley go into Jackson Valley from Highway 88 into Jackson Valley from the quarry. So you have the same issues there. It's difficult, but we have to look at the Planning Commission's decision. They're usually very diligent on what they do, and if there's any reason to overturn projects, they usually do that. So we have to re-examine that, see if there's any factual data for us to be skeptical of the Planning Commission facts and findings.
Okay, that's going to be the second very interesting
that'll be at 10:30
discussion
too,
that'll be going on.
Public hearing at 10:30, and that'll be a long one, I'm sure.
So that will be at 10:30?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we heard from Supervisor Richard Forster with the pre-agenda report. It's got some interesting things happening at the Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow. If you're concerned, you should show up. And stay with us. Thanks, Richard, for coming by. There's more news on the other side of the break.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.